So today is a beautiful day. I'm out here by the creek, just enjoying myself, have a little time this afternoon, and I wanted to tell you about a precautionary tale, something that could save you a lot of grief and a lot of time. This is about my Tacoma that I'm in right now. So this is a 2021 Tacoma, so third gen with the V6, and I started getting some hesitation on the engine. So sorry if it's a little noisy. I'm in the truck right now with it running, the air conditioner. It's like 100 degrees outside. But I'll start with my story. So one day I got up early and was traveling to church, and it was kind of cool out. And when I shifted into second, it kind of had a little stumble, which was kind of unusual, but I thought, well, it's just kind of cool outside. Maybe it just, a little cold or whatever. So anyways, it happened that one time. And then over the course of that week, after that first hesitation, it started hesitating more and more and worse and more often. And it got to the point where it was just undrivable. Where I was coming home on the highway and I was going about 45 on the highway in third gear, just kind of feathering the throttle, because anytime I had it under load, it would just like buck and hesitate and not want to go. So I kind of just had to hold it just a very steady, just kind of idle type of throttle. And so it kind of got me thinking, it's like, man, this sounds like an ignition timing type issue, because idling, it idled perfectly fine. There wasn't any stumbling, any hesitation, idled smooth. It didn't throw any check engine codes. And like I said, it was just under load. And so, like anybody else, I got online and tried to do some research, Tacoma hesitating under load. And guess what? There wasn't really any information, because it's not really a common issue. So I did find one story of somebody who had a cam position sensor on the engine become damaged, and it was cracked. And it was cracked because they had recently changed their spark plugs. And if you've ever changed the spark plugs on this V6, on the driver's side, it's kind of tight in there, and there's a cam position sensor you have to pull the plug off of. And so that's why he pulled it off, and he ended up damaging the sensor and putting a crack in it. And so he took it out, showed the crack, replaced it, and it fixed his hesitation issue. Well, I thought to myself, well, hey, I had just replaced my spark plugs 1,500 miles ago at the 120,000 mile change interval. I was like, well, let me check my cam sensor. So I checked the plug, it's plugged in, doesn't change my hesitation. I pull the cam sensor, check it, I don't see any visible cracks or damage or anything. So I take a multimeter and I check the pins, and I find what the values should be online, and it all checks out. And I've already spent a little bit of time on this trying to figure it out. I check all the other cam sensors, and they all check out just fine. So I decide to do a little more digging. Well, maybe it's the fuel. Maybe I put some bad fuel in it and now it's bucking, and maybe there's some water. So I was trying to retrace my steps, like, when did I fill up? Where did I fill up? And do I really want to go through the hassle of draining the tank? Am I going to find the problem that am I going to find what's causing my problem, essentially? So I start doing a little more research, and there's not really anybody online with a similar problem. And I'm like, man, maybe I damaged my plug, because you have to get your hands down in this little hole, and it's like you have to push in on the clip and pull the plug out, and you don't have much leverage with your hand down in that hole. So maybe I stressed the wires, maybe I cracked the wires. So I found a factory service manual online, the PDF version, and it's organized, but it's like 11,000 pages or something crazy like that. And there's the version that I found, maybe there's a different version out there. It didn't have like a glossary in the front where you could click on like fuel injection and it takes you to it. It's like, so I spent like 30-45 minutes just like scanning through it, trying to find the section on the VVTi cam position sensors. I finally found it, and I found what the reading should be if I did a pin test. So I took my lower panel off, found the ECU, pulled the pin out, found the correct pins, did the resistance test, make sure there wasn't like a damaged wire or that it's like shorting out anywhere. I mean, I spent 3 hours on this probably, like, trying to find the manual, downloading it, opening it up, looking for the section, and then identifying where the ECU was, taking it apart, doing all these tests. Everything seemed to check out fine. Like, man, that's crazy. Well, I ended up taking the pin apart that plugs into that cam sensor. And then at this time also, it finally throws a check engine code. And there's a couple of them. I forget it was a P something, of course. But it pointed to that exact cam sensor, like whatever bank it was, that was that one that I was messing with. I was like, okay, so it must be right there. So anyways, I pull the plug off of the ECU, and then I take the plug apart to pull the pins out to make sure maybe the wires got cracked where they crimp onto the actual pin. That all looked good. Like, man, what is going on? So I decide I'm gonna replace that plug. O'Reilly's has a pigtail section that matches that cam sensor plug. I think it was like 25 bucks. And so I bought that, and it's like, man, I'm going in deep. So I take the entire intake manifold off because I need to splice back, and I need room to, splice this wire. So I take the entire intake manifold off, and I take apart the loom on the wiring, and I cut back the cam sensor plug, and I splice in a new one. And I, shrink wrap it back up, tie it back up, put the intake back on, and guess what? My problem did not go away. It was not the plug. So I went through all this trouble. I was about to give in and take it to a shop. Like, hey, I give up. I need my truck for work. I don't have time to sit here and like diagnose this, because I'm like dedicating like an hour here, an hour there, 2 hours here, in between schedules with my kids and my wife. And so I do a little more research one evening, and I come across a thread about a guy providing a cautionary tale about how he replaced his spark plugs, and about 1,000 miles later it started running rough. He took it to a shop, and they couldn't figure it out. So he took it to another shop. They couldn't figure it out. They ended up taking it to, I think, a Toyota dealer, and they figured it out. The first shop that did the spark plugs put the incorrect spark plugs in the engine. So that got me thinking. I was like, all right. And then I looked further down in the thread. So he posted his thread, and then there was like comments afterward. And one of the comments was, oh yeah, and be aware of counterfeit parts from China. I had never seen this. So I watched this YouTube video, and it was talking about spark plugs, oil filters, and something else. It was like a 16-minute video, and he was breaking down the OEM part and the Chinese knockoff and how they look very similar. And so it got me thinking. So I went outside and I pulled a spark plug, and the very first spark plug I pulled, the iridium tip was completely burnt away. I was like, oh, this is probably what it is. So I pulled all of them, and they were all like rusty, grimy. Like, it was just, I've never seen such bad spark plugs with only 1,500 miles on them. And so what happened was, the first time I did a spark plug change on this truck, which was like around 65,000 miles, I bought a set of the OEM parts from an eBay seller. And it was an actual Toyota dealer. And, I was just trying to find out, because they're kind of expensive, So I think I paid $100 at the time for the 6 spark plugs, and did that. And so the second time, 120,000 mile interval, when I changed them, I did the same thing, and I found a really good deal. I found a set of 6 spark plugs for like $65. I bought them, and they sat on my bench for about a month before I was able to install them, and that's what it was. So I went back to the eBay listing. The seller is no longer a eBay user. The listing is no longer like, I can't even click on it. And so they probably sold a bunch of counterfeit parts to people like me, and got called out on it, and they went away. So so the next day I went up to Reliable Toyota in Springfield, Mo, and I just bought a set of OEM spark plugs and put them in, and my problem was completely solved. So all in all, I spent about 8 to 10 hours trying to diagnose this crazy problem, this crazy hesitation that I had, which was just bad spark plugs, counterfeit spark plugs that came in an OEM box with, everything about it looked completely original. And I'll show you, I have the two. I have what I put in that was counterfeit compared to the brand new ones, and they look really close, but they're different just a little bit, and to the unsuspecting eye you would never know. And man, it caused me a bunch of grief. It was very frustrating, doing the job twice, which the spark plug job doesn't take very long in my opinion, but going through 10 hours of hassle trying to diagnose what's going on, sitting there questioning myself, sitting there wondering, should I take it to a shop? How much is it going to cost for them to diagnose this? However, they'd be able to probably figure out quicker since they have some diagnostic equipment. But I don't like doing that to my ego. I like working on my own stuff. So just take this as a word of caution that if you're buying parts online, like on eBay, make sure it's a reputable dealer, or someone with a lot of positive feedback, because it got the best of us trying to find a deal online. So hopefully that helps you in the future. Stay away from counterfeit parts, and thanks for watching.